I have big problem with Yasir Qadhi, his views. I have decided to talk or make comments on this video where it said Mahdi will go to Istanbul, Turkey. The reason I will talk about this video is because this is very relevant to the topics that I post here. So I want to talk about it, make some comments. So let's take a listen at what Yasir Qadhi has to say.
And we do not know whether this is related to the Mahdi or not. We do not know. But it is my assumption, and Allah knows best, that it is related to the Mahdi. And this is also the ijtihad of many ulama, that this hadith is related to the Mahdi. And it's a long hadith, and it was this hadith that caused ISIS to do some of what it did as well. And this hadith is authentic. And the hadith goes as follows. Judgment will not happen until the Romans encamp at a land called Dabiq, which is a small village in Syria. Okay? Until the Romans camp at a land called Dabiq. And an army will come from Medina, who are the best of the people in the earth. And they will face this army from Rome in the village of Dabiq.
Okay, so this army that he's talking about and the place Dabiq, I personally believe this will be the occasion of the battle between the Muslims and the Romans. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he actually, there's a Sahih hadith narrated in Sunan ibn Majah, Jabir bin Samura, he said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Satuqatiluna jaziratul Arab, fayaftahu Allah, summa tuqatiluna ar-Rum, fayaftahu Allah, summa tuqatiluna ad-Dajjal, fayaftahu Allah." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you will fight the Arabian Peninsula. There will be fight. There will be battles going on. And then after this, the Arabian people, they will fight each other. And I personally, my opinion is that this happened when this Umayyad dynasty and many other dynasties, they had this conflict going on within other dynasties around that in that region, which would also include maybe Sassanid dynasty. So this battle were taking place in the Arabian Peninsula, and this is what the Prophet said, that you will fight them and you will win. So when he said you will win, he basically referred to the Muslims, the one who will be on the right path. They will win. And then after this, you summa tuqatiluna Rum, and then you'll fight the Romans. So when Yasir Qadhi is talking about this place Dabiq, after the Muslims have fought in the past, and I believe this will happen again when the Muslims will be fighting one more time in the Arabian Peninsula for supremacy, to get upper hand. After that will happen one more time, then the Muslims will be surrounded by the Romans. And in a place called Dabiq, this is where the Romans will camp and come. After this, the Dajjal will come, and then the Muslims will fight at Dajjal.
Now pause here. Right here, ISIS narrative crumbles. Where did the army of ISIS come from? Not from Medina. You understand? You cannot take one portion, another portion, and enact your own hadith. ISIS's army did not come from Medina.
Okay, so this is another example of how some people, they view Mahdi coming not from Medina, or some people, they claim I'm the Mahdi, but then he's not coming from Medina to Mecca, rather he is somewhere else. And they use other hadiths, they use their own opinion and logic to prove that Mahdi doesn't have to come from the Arabian country, Saudi Arabia. He can come from Africa. He can come from even North America, maybe New York, Los Angeles, who knows, subhanAllah. That is not true. You have to match everything. The hadiths, these are all authentic. Anyone claims to be the Mahdi, anyone claims to be on the right army, they have to match everything.
The majority of them, in fact, came from Belgium and France. Around 100 from America. Minnesota had 20 or 30. This is their army. Each one thinking we are going to re-establish the Khilafah by executing hostages. And wallah, I mean, again, this is what happens when you have a crazed understanding of the religion. You don't understand right from wrong, and you end up doing more wrong than good. And our Prophet warned us about these fanatics, and maybe one day inshallah give a khutbah or a lecture about the characteristics of the Kharijites, because this group is exactly Kharijite. This group is exactly that fundamentalist group. They think.
Okay, so I'm gonna go fast forward.
I told you before, there are over 30 hadith about the Mahdi, narrated by over 30 Sahaba. Because of this, it has been a standard feature of mainstream Sunni Islam to accept the concept of the Mahdi. And there's a long list of our classical ulama, Al-Hasan al-Basri, Mujahid ibn Jabr, many of the...
Okay, so dear brothers and sisters, one thing that I can tell you is that we know that the Mahdi, or actually I should say the Muslims, there is a great possibility that Istanbul will be lost to the Romans. When we talk about the Romans ganging up on the Muslims, there is a great possibility that the Muslims will lose Istanbul and it will become the capital of the Romans one more time. That time could happen after the Malhama that will take place, which can also be referred as WW3. Again, this is subjective. This is my understanding. You can agree or you can disagree. This is when the Mahdi, he will try to recapture Istanbul, Constantinople one more time, and Muslims will succeed. And this is why the Mahdi will go back to Istanbul, and he will recapture it from the Romans.
Classic ulama, Imam Mahdi ibn Hanbal, others, they talked about the Mahdi. And there were books written by our Sunni scholars, such as Nu'aym ibn Hammad, one of the great scholars of hadith. He wrote a book called the Book of Mahdi. Ibn Kathir, the famous Mufassir, he wrote a book called the Book of Mahdi. As-Suyuti, our great scholar, also wrote
If you are listening to any of these scholars, the best I personally follow would be Ibn Hazm. Okay, he is one of the best scholars when it comes to narrating and explaining the hadith about the end of time.
The book about the hadith of the Mahdi. So, the claim that some misguided Sunnis make, oh, we Sunnis don't believe in the Mahdi, this person doesn't know Sunni history. The concept of the Mahdi comes from Sunni Islam. Other groups took it and distorted it, and converted it, and scrambled it, and fried it, and presented it different than what is took this concept, and they wanted to pretend they are the Mahdi. Some of them were politically successful, but religiously they were not. Of them is the Abbasids. The Abbasids, they thought they will enact the hadith of the Mahdi, and that's why they started their armies in Khurasan.
And Abbasid and even the Umayyad dynasty, dear brothers and sisters, both of them claim that they are the army of the Mahdi. And both of them raised the black flag to prove their point, to say that this is the flag of the Mahdi. Obviously, we know now that the Mahdi never came.
And they took as their banners the black flag. And they had this theology of the Mahdi. But once they got into power and they realized they're not the Mahdi, khalas, they went their way and they abandoned their sectarianism and they continued politically.
So the point here is that the Mahdi will have to re-enter the Istanbul, Constantinople. The reason I'm saying re-enter is because he would try, when he will be here, he will probably be, organizing an army to enter Istanbul. He will probably be successful and then he will try again. I mean, this is again very subjective. But the main point here is that the Mahdi, he will go to Istanbul because that's where one of the main sources of Muslim Islamic power will lie. And that victory will be symbolic because that victory will be so decisive. Again, this is my opinion, that the Muslims will never have to fight the Romans ever again after the Mahdi will be able to recapture Constantinople or the Istanbul that we talk about today. So this is very, very subjective again.
Allahu A'lam. Does it mean that it will go back into non-Muslim hands? Does it mean that Allahu A'lam? What does it mean? We have no idea. But this hadith mentions that that army which is going from Medina, which army is leaving from Medina towards the end of times? Is the army of the Mahdi. It will fight the Armageddon. It will be successful. It will continue fighting until finally it will conquer Constantinople, which is Constantinople. So we have, and this is in Sahih Muslim.
So, yeah, this is again something I can agree with Yasir Qadi. Absolutely, I think this is very informative. If you are not aware what will happen, how the future will look like, inshallah, these discussions will give us a good idea about how these whole things will unfold. Jazakallah khair for tuning in. Like this video, if you share this video, leave a comment, inshallah, and I will see you soon again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.